The actual number one trait or skill that I wish people understood, programmers had to have it. It's tenacity. It's that willingness to keep going when stuff doesn't quite work.
Invest in yourself. You might be a little bit nervous about buying a license to Cursor. You might not be sure if it's worth spending money on a course to get started. Those are a couple ways to invest in yourself, but it also may just be blocking out a certain amount of time to read and experiment and try it.
Welcome to another episode of AI Product Leader. Every week we shine a light on what it really takes to join the AI world. Real conversations with AI builders, founders, product leaders, experts, and technologists, and everything in between to understand where the AI world is right now and what that path looks like, whether you're building an AI product or building a career in AI. I'm your host, Polly Allen. I'm the founder of AI Career Boost, where I spend my time helping product leaders navigate the world of AI and thrive in AI leadership roles. And I spent my career on both the product management and software development sides of the equation. I'm an ex-Alexa AI principal product manager, where I successfully launched the very first generative AI answers on Alexa. I'm super excited to have our guest join us today. Dave Stys has one of the most fascinating paths into product that I've seen, from calibrating instruments on the Hubble Space Telescope to reimagining email today at Aweber. He blends scientific rigor with deep marketing instincts, leading work on dynamic content, AMP for email, and deliverability. And lately, he's been stepping into a bold new chapter, shaping how AI can elevate content creation and product workflows across the email space. Whether he's mentoring teams or decoding spam signals, Dave's building the future, one message at a time. So great to have you here today, Dave.
Thanks, Polly. Thanks for having me. I've heard you say that intro a million times, and I always thought it was pre-recorded, but it's beautiful.
It is not. I want you to know how I'm introducing you, you know? Awesome.
Great.
Well, before we dive in, I mentioned a little bit about your career here. And one of the things that stood out to me is this is not the usual career path for folks so deep into technology and AI necessarily. You come from a background in aerospace, in astrophysics. Tell me a
Yeah,
little bit about your background.
astrophysics. Yeah, it has been an interesting journey, and sometimes it is difficult to sort of like explain, how I got from point A to point B. But yeah, I always had a passion for astronomy, and when it came time to apply to colleges, I went to Villanova. They requested that you or required that you chose a major at the time of application.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know much about the school, but they had astronomy and astrophysics. I'm like, yes, that's perfect for me. I just always was into space, rockets going to the moon, the space shuttle program. I lived in New Hampshire, and we had the best night sky, so we could see all of the stars and galaxies every night. So I jumped into that. It was very difficult for me. I didn't have the strongest science and math background, but I had the passion for it. So I was able to get through that program. I always joke that after my first semester, I was ranked 3 in my class. And then I graduated at the bottom of my class, but I was still third because not everybody made it, unfortunately, through the major. So I hung in there. I got all the way through it, and it was a really great experience. And that led to my first job working on the Hubble Space Telescope as a data scientist. And that was an incredible place to be. A lot of wonderful people there, just very smart. And that's where I really got to challenge myself and figure out how I'm going to learn really complex, specialized, things. I could never have studied an instrument on board Hubble before I got there, right? So that's where I learned that, and I also started learning how to program Python. So I started getting interested in how can I make my job a little easier? Maybe I can automate with some scripts. But then, like every 20-year-old, I got bored with my dream job, right? So sadly, it was more actually like, do I go another 10 years and get a PhD in astrophysics, which again would probably have been pretty grueling for me.
Yeah.
And then get a postdoc and then, look for a job.
Yeah.
I was also coaching high school girls basketball at a Catholic high school in Baltimore. And that was something that came very easy to me and I was very good at. And one of my Villanova classmates, not astro person, was doing the sports management program at UMass Amherst. It's one of the oldest programs around. So yeah, I was like, well, why would they ever take me? And I think this is part of the theme is being different can often be an advantage. So instead of seeing myself as a complete oddball with none of the prior experience or prerequisite courses to get into that program, it helped to have a friend there, but also just to explain my background and my experiences and they valued that diversity, so they gave me a
Yeah,
shot.
that coming from
Yeah,
a completely a new angle is actually something that
right.
can be a huge advantage in a program like that.
And it has been brilliant for me to have a technical background in science and astronomy and have that paired with, I mean, it's a master's in science, but it's basically a business degree in the business program. So to learn about business in the sports industry was incredibly valuable. So now I sort of have like two core strengths, and putting them together was awesome. I was probably the most technical person in my program.
Yeah.
So when it came time to do marketing research and analyze data, I was writing scripts to get that data analysis done a lot quicker, not only for my group project, but also for some of the other teams and classmates. Yeah, so
Amazing.
that was a lot of fun. That led to a good 11-year run at Turnkey Sports and Entertainment. I got to be a marketing researcher for all the pro and sports teams and college athletics teams, studying their game day experience. I got
Oh,
to get
amazing.
all 32 NFL teams together. It was the first time they ever got all their teams together to do a single research project to study game day
Huh.
experience across the board. And then the feat of getting all that data together, analyzing it, and doing benchmarking. But what was great about the time at AWeber, I sort of transitioned from being a marketing researcher
Mm.
to unknowingly becoming a product manager. We
Mm.
started to build software. So we turned
It
that
snuck
research
up on you.
program, yeah, so we turned that into a SaaS application. So instead of like all these like PowerPoint deliverables, it
Yeah.
turned into collecting all of their data through our portal, getting the surveys deployed, doing all the data collection. We had built a whole automation machine to get it all together, and then to deliver their results compared to all the other teams and other sports in the market in a dashboard that was live and they could interact with.
Sorry, this was
Um,
at AWeber or this was at the
this was at Turnkey Sports.
at
Yeah.
Turnkey Sports? Exactly. I'm so intrigued by that research project. Are you allowed to share what like any big findings from the game day research piece?
Yeah, I mean, this is years ago, so I'm sure a lot has changed, but
Yeah.
it was NFL games are not seen as a family-friendly environment, so they wanted to
Mm.
work on that. They also wanted to get more female fans to the stadium and to become fans, so it's not just a guy's sport. I
Yeah.
know the Baltimore Ravens had a whole purple program, and other teams started doing similar things and to get women involved and excited about the game. And then parking was always the number one issue. If you're going to make me pay $20, $30 for parking, and it's going to take me 2 or 3 hours to get out of the parking lot.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they started to study that and make some changes based on some of the findings.
Oh, amazing. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. So practical and applied. That's excellent. So
Yeah,
how did that background help you transition to a place like Aweber where they're all about digital experiences, right?
exactly. And so actually at Turnkey, we built two more SaaS products for the sports industry, and I was in
Mm.
charge of that. And then really the transition was sort of like a human transition where I got married, moved out to the suburbs, and we adopted our first child, which was wonderful. And I was just like, wow, suddenly my commute's an hour. If everything goes well, it's an hour each way, taking
Yeah.
multiple trains and walking. And it just wasn't sustainable.
Mm.
So I took that as a chance to be a stay-at-home dad, which was the best
Oh,
part of my
amazing.
career. I mean, I recommend everybody, if you have the luck to get to do that. Like it was really enriching, and I found AWeber in my backyard. So
Oh,
I
amazing.
started knocking down their door, and I was like, okay. When I look at the work I've done at Turnkey, I think I am a product manager, but I'm gonna again have to convince them because
Mm.
I've never had the title, I've never
Yeah.
had the formal product management experience at Turnkey.
Yeah.
That
Even though
that
you
I
were in
could fit in
charge of
there.
building products, you just
Right.
didn't get the title. Yeah.
And I didn't even like see myself as that yet because I
Mm.
wasn't really in the know about product at that time. So yeah, so that's why I found AWeber. They had a product manager position open. It was a technical product manager because it was all about the email infrastructure and sending billions of emails out the door. Make sure they're properly formed, authenticated, and are well suited to get to the inbox, and also like
Hmm.
combating spammers and abuse as well. So that was an interesting opportunity. I was really excited for it. I got to take the CEO's job. He was in charge of that team, and he was looking forward to handing it off to somebody. And it was also a really great experience to work side by side with him, get to know him well, and how he started the company and what his goals are for AWeber.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes that leadership buy-in on you and your role can make all the difference in a transition like that if he's been so
Yes.
hands-on.
Yes, yes, for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. Well, that brings us into now we're stepping into this new age of AI, and I know you're leading some new, really exciting initiatives involving AI and generative AI in emails for your customers. Can you tell us a little bit about the projects you've got going on?
Sure. And like everybody, like my first experience with AI was like, what is this? And then I was sort of like dismissive of it.
Yeah,
And then I could tell very quickly, like, this is a real thing. And so then I just went full in. And luckily, AWeber's been the same way, from
yeah,
the very top down. They want us experimenting and learning and practicing AI every single day.
amazing.
Um, so that kind of support is great. I didn't have to beg for, um, a ChatGPT license or a Cloud license. Like they're giving us what we need. So yeah, the first project I took on was very simple things. Was
Yeah.
could we write a paragraph for the user in their newsletter, or just rewrite it for them?
Hmm.
So basically, just a very simple hit to the ChatGPT API, and you get a result, and you plop it in their message. From there, we went to like generating suggestions for their subject line,
Yeah.
and that helps with deliverability, inboxing, and also just like if the subscriber sees a new fresh subject line, they're more likely to open it, and that's really good for engagement. And then we extended that to the preview text as well.
Mm.
After that, a team came together and started what we call the newsletter assistant, and that's available now. And basically, whether you're an Aweber customer or not, you can sign up and say like, "Here's what I do. Here's my website. We'll learn about you." And AI is going to give you suggestions for what your newsletter could be each week. If you pick
Oh,
one of your
nice.
favorite topics, it's going to write it for you, and all you have to do is say, "Yeah, I'd like to schedule and send that to my audience."
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, so that's been really good. So I got involved on that team. There's chief product officer and some engineers on the team. I jumped in. I noticed that the emails we were generating were really, really plain. I was
Mm.
like, it would be great if we could add images in there, and we hadn't really figured that out. So that's when I started learning about MCP servers, and we had one, and I learned it was pretty easy for me to add a tool. So I added a tool, just using integration to Unsplash and Lumi. And
Nice.
then when AI was asked to include some pictures, it knew the content it was writing about. It could go and make its own requests to those image search tools, and it would come back with some recommendations of what it could put into the email. And all of a sudden now we've got images in the email. So like that was my first
Amazing. Yeah.
kind of thing that got me really excited about it.
Oh, that's awesome. Excellent. Did you
Yeah.
feel like starting with these, I think I see them as like low hanging fruit, right? Where you're like, well,
Right.
obviously, I know I can do this in ChatGPT. We just got to integrate ChatGPT functionality. Did that help get buy-in on the team that this was going to be like something real? There's a lot of skepticism out there.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Is we all just took that philosophy of like, what's the one thing we can do today?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be perfect, but if it works, like just put it in the app and
Yeah.
we'll see if people like it. And then from there, you get some feedback, classic product management stuff. You get some
Yeah.
feedback and then they want a new thing and then you start working on that. But we have tried to approach, our AI work, and there's some other things too, on just more of like a tiger team basis of like, what can we deliver
Right.
today or this week rather than it planning out a 2 month sprint, to do a
Right.
massive, massive overhaul. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Have there been any like things you found out that you're like, AI is not there yet, or this is not where we want to take the product right now?
Let's see. I think originally I tried to use image generation,
Mm,
but I think a lot of time has passed since I've tried that, so I
yeah.
wasn't getting great results there. But now I'm definitely at the point where, I was always doing some other work, like in the course with you for my capstone. Could I generate a beautiful looking email that's also compatible with our message editor, drag and
Yeah.
drop? And I kept noticing like the images and the custom graphics are really what makes an email kind of look nice.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely circling back to that now that we've
Yeah.
got all of the other work sort of established
Interesting.
to figure out, is there a new interface for a message editor or a landing page designer where it's not starting with drag and drop, but more like here's some examples of how I want my newsletter to look,
Nice.
interact it a little bit more fluid, and have it present to you that design sort of automatically. And I think a big part of that's going to be images and custom graphics. So I'm going to be experimenting with that over the next couple of weeks.
Oh, fantastic. Um, I remember when you first came you to the program, you were actually pitching a project to the company. You weren't sure it was going to get funded necessarily. Was it something where you had to get some buy-in?
Right. Yeah. So There was, yeah, exactly. So our message editor right now, I sort of equate it to Photoshop, where it's like you
Yeah,
have a blank screen, and obviously we have templates, but you have a blank screen, and then you have base elements like drag a paragraph, drag a button, drag an image, and
yeah.
you kind of start with like a blank page syndrome. Where do I begin? How do I make this look good?
Mm,
I'm not a designer. I'm not sure this is going to come out great. So while we have like, I think people are pretty successful now with that. I was thinking of getting to block layouts, and you see this in other email design tools
yeah,
where you're just dragging an already designed block, and then it's just bigger Lego pieces that you're forming to make a
right.
beautiful
It's
email
like a
message.
mini templates that
Yeah,
you can build together.
yeah. So my experiment for my capstone in your course was, could I have AI help me design some of those block layouts, and but also just have them as base layouts, and then could I have AI listen to a user chat and say, hey, I want an email that has this information. Maybe it's for an e-commerce
Yeah.
store. You know, I want to promote these products and tell people about upcoming events, etc. Whatever they ask for, could it go find us, from a menu of blocks that have different purposes? Could AI grab the correct ones and
Mm,
assemble a message itself? And then the layer on top of that was, okay, now that I've got the blocks, let's fill in the content. Let's put in the text. Let's fill in the images. And it did a really, it took, we'll talk about learning curve, but I got there. I think by the end, the capstone presentation showed that we could definitely achieve that.
nice.
Yeah.
Totally. And it's so
Yeah.
important right now that people actually validate that, like, is it there
Yeah.
today, or is it something that's going to take a new model?
Yeah. And to answer your question, so I did build off of that project, and going back to our newsletter assistant
Mm,
product, which is live. One of the biggest pieces of feedback, or the biggest feedback we got from customers was, hey, you're making great newsletters. I love them. They're saving me so much time. This makes being a newsletter writer so easy, but they don't look like my messages I've been sending in my templates with my themes.
yeah.
So I picked it up from there. I was the guy that got the images in there. Now I'm like, okay, how do we take the content and, you know, I had to learn a lot about our backend and grab templates and grab themes and put them all together. And I was able to achieve that. I showed that off at a demo day at Aweber, um, and sort of like we were all happy about that. And then the next sprint, an engineer picked up that work and was
Yeah.
going to use some of my code. I'm sure leave plenty of it behind, and was able to get that into production. So that now works. So
Amazing. So
it
this
wasn't
is,
even about funding. It was just about like prioritization and
yeah,
something that we weren't sure how. It was a blocker. How are we going to figure that out? Will it even work? And I'd like to prove that, yeah, it works. We can
that's
do it.
amazing.
Yeah.
Unblocking the team with prototyping, things like that seems like this new superpower that PMs now have. I know you
Yeah,
really dove into some of the prototyping tools and really loved working with them. Is that
I
something you're
like
trying
that.
to help the team upskill and like
Mhm.
something we're trying to spread wider?
Yeah, and there's a good amount of adoption among the teammates at Aweber. Yeah, I came to your course because I wasn't sure, like, should I be more of a no-code tool person? I've been
Mm,
playing a lot with Cursor, which is a coding co-pilot assistant, and I did struggle. Like, I felt like the no-code tools, I was going to be like doing tons and tons of configuration, and that might just destroy me.
yes.
And I was kind of having luck with Cursor as a no-code tool, but then I would also have major setbacks. And I mean, one of my pieces of advice for somebody else trying that is just use version control. I had to
Yeah,
remind myself of this, and I had a teammate just anytime I'm struggling, like remind me to do that because I would have a success, I'd have a win. Like let's just commit that, and then take the next step, commit it the next step. That way, if you have a major screw up, I was losing like a week of work before
right,
of just
right.
having like I don't know where I am anymore. I don't, I'm not the one writing the code, so I was a little bit lost. So that learning curve, um, going through your course, doing the project, getting through that learning curve, helped me figure out how I can be productive with a tool like Cursor.
Oh, amazing. That's
Yeah.
I mean, and it does really add to a whole team's velocity at that point.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I'm gonna have to check out your newsletter writer for myself. I need some newsletter improvements, so I'm definitely
Yeah. Please use it. It'd be
gonna.
great.
What's the URL people can go to? We'll include it in the show notes as well.
Yeah, it is. I have it in my notes. Maybe we'll just add it. So it's here it is. It is aweber.com
Yeah.
slash newsletter dash assistant.
Nice.
.htm, Noel.
HTM. Awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent. So important for the teams to be focused though on those client wins. Clearly, you were. How do you measure success? And like when you said, people like it? Are you getting like metrics back that show engagement? Like how? What do you think of as the main metrics you watch to understand if this is a
Yeah,
winner?
for Newsletter Assistant, it was sort of, we knew some number of people would try it once, right? But what we found is people were coming back and using it multiple times, week after
Nice.
week. And the other cool metric was people would use it to generate a newsletter. They'd go into Message Editor to look at it,
Yeah.
and then they would schedule it to be sent. And we're like, they didn't even edit anything. They didn't change it,
Oh,
or they
amazing.
changed very little.
Yeah.
That was our goal from the beginning: is could we do it so that they don't have a lot of work to edit and finalize it before they could feel comfortable sending it.
Yeah, amazing. Oh,
Mhm.
that's great. That's great tips
Yeah.
in terms of like real world metrics to look at. Awesome.
Right.
Well,
Right.
obviously, this has been quite the journey from getting into tech, but also specifically getting into AI to the point where you're leading these advanced
Mhm.
initiatives and kind of surfing the front of the crest of the wave with AI in this space. How did you get started when you wanted to learn about AI? What are your recommendations for people in that situation?
Yeah. So the way I started was like a YouTube video because I saw someone could create an Angry Birds game in 15 minutes. And of course, the YouTube video is an hour long. So I'm like, why is it, you know, so like, don't buy all the hype. But that's when I learned about, and I'd heard people at AWeber were talking about Cursor, and I was like, all right, this is how I'm going to figure it out. I
Yeah,
just watched the YouTube video, I followed the steps, I downloaded the software, and sure enough, I made a sort of okay Angry Birds game, and it
nice.
only took an hour.
Yeah,
And I was pretty excited by that. So my advice is to start somewhere that you can be excited about, and get something created, and because I think you'll build off of your little wins.
right.
um, yeah, so some of the advice I give people is like, um, invest in yourself. I think
Mhm.
you might be a little bit nervous about buying a license to Cursor. You might want not be sure if it's worth spending money on a course to get started. Those are a couple ways to invest in yourself, but it also may just be blocking out a certain amount of time
Absolutely.
to read and experiment and try it. And there will be a learning curve, so embrace that learning curve, because um, people will tell you it took me 15 minutes to make this amazing thing. Well, it's like, no, they spent 2 weeks figuring something out, and then once they got it, it took
Yeah,
them 15 minutes to build their other thing. So don't let that
absolutely.
frustrate you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm often telling folks in the course that it's like the actual number one trait or skill that I wish people understood. I feel like programmers had to have it in order to become a programmer, 10 years ago.
Right.
And now it's like it's tenacity. It's that willingness to keep
Right.
going when stuff doesn't quite work or it's frustrating or you lose that week of work.
Yeah. You just have to keep going. Yeah.
Because those moments will happen, but it means that like you're not building a skill for the ROI isn't necessarily this project, right?
Right. And I get asked a lot of times too, like, hey, you've got your product management job, you're working on two teams, you delivered this feature, and you also demoed something you built with AI. Like, where do you find the time?
Yeah,
And so sometimes I'm investing that time at work during a project, and it's something I could do a lot faster if I wasn't going through the AI learning curve. But I know it's an investment and it's going to
yeah,
pay off later. And then other times I put the kids to bed and I'm up till midnight. So sometimes you have to pull an all nighter. So if it's
yeah,
important to you, do what it takes. You'll find your own version of that. But yeah, you have to commit to doing it, and then be competitive too. There's a couple of us at work that we get mad if somebody else did the prototype before you did, and sometimes we're working on the same thing secretly.
oh, I
So
love
get
it.
competitive, have fun with it,
Yeah,
and just show off what you can do.
yeah, oh, I love it. And speaking of all-nighters, getting competitive, you also
Yeah.
have been building some stuff on the side as well, right?
Yeah, so this was my first year being a softball coach. My daughter Maya is an 8-year-old, and she wanted to play softball for the first time. And I've never played baseball. I've never coached softball, but I thought it'd be fun to volunteer and learn about the game. And after her first game, all of the girls on the team said, "Hey, the other team had walk-up music. They're coming up to bat and they're playing their hit songs, a lot of
Oh,
Taylor Swift, and we didn't have any music. We need to have music next week." I'm like, I'm on it. I may not be the best batting coach, but I'm the enthusiasm guy, and I'm
I could
going.
be the
"Yeah,
hype
we're
guy.
gonna have fun. We're gonna get the music figured out." So I bought a speaker, and then I looked up all the walk-up music apps, and there's some really good ones out there. But so to me, they look kind of outdated, and I
Mm.
saw an opportunity as a product person. Like I can build my own, and I think I can win. So in about a weekend, and there's the hype again, but after some
At
learning
least you didn't
curve.
say 15 minutes or an hour.
But seriously, by the end of the weekend, I had a web app version and I figured
Mhm.
out how to hook it up to first Spotify. Then I realized how to use a different API. So I'm now with Apple Music and I created the web version of the app. So you can create a roster. The kids can pick their songs. You can scrub to, the right part of the song, the most exciting part that
Yeah.
they want to hear when they walk up to bat. And then I built in all play, buttons so you can hit play and their song comes on, advance to the next player. Then I was like, well, after the first game of using it, it's like, this would be really nice if it was on my Apple Watch. So then I made that the Watch app.
Nice.
Then I put a widget on the home screen of the iPhone so you can get back into the app really quickly. It tells you who's up next. So really quickly, I got the whole thing working. I've given it to a couple friends and family to try it out with their teams.
Nice.
And yeah, so hopefully it'll turn into a little thing.
Oh, that's awesome. So you've got this going already. You're looking for more beta testers, more folks. Who are you looking for to test this out?
I totally am, right? And I think that would give me some confidence, to know that it's ready for the mass market. I think it would be
Yeah.
fun. So I'll try to get a sign up page where people can sign up for beta. I'll set you up. And maybe by the time the podcast airs, maybe it'll be even more ready than that. And people can, self register.
Oh, fantastic. Awesome. We'll put some more info in the show notes. Is this
Great.
specifically for baseball? Is there other people that might be able to test it out as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious for softball and baseball, but I think volleyball teams use it.
Yeah.
Anytime an athlete's walking up to
Yeah.
do something, it's fun to play music. Yeah,
I was like,
so
well, now we have to do it for demo days. So there's
oh,
we're
that'd
good.
be a lot of fun. That's a good call. Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone
So
gets to
yeah, it can be
pick
pretty
the
much any
song.
sport.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thanks so much, Dave. I always like to close out with, hey, if you had to put your advice for folks who want to get into AI, where to start in like one sentence, what would you say?
I would say I would just go back to what I said earlier. Invest in yourself.
Yeah,
No one's going to do it for you, and because it is important and is valuable to you in your life, um, buy the software license, sign up for the course, or just block out the time
yeah,
because it will pay off.
amazing. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. Time for one last segment, which is plugs. Is there anything you want to plug, things going on that people should reach
Yeah,
out to you for?
I just want to plug Aweber in general. They've
Yeah,
supported me in my AI journey, helped me attend your course. And so I would check out the Aweber newsletter assistant. And we recently launched a really big update to our email automation platform. So definitely check that out. And then my app will be called Walk Up Hero
nice.
for playing walk up music at your youth sports games. And then why not also cursor.com? I know there's a ton of other tools I should be out there trying, but I've really just gone back to Cursor
Nice.
day after day to do my own development. Yeah.
That's your recommendation.
Mhm.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thanks so much, Dave. On my end, I always like to plug we've got an upcoming free masterclass. We do one every month, The Path to AI Product Leadership, understanding the latest trends in AI product management and how it's being affected by AI, along with the skills AI product leaders need to lead and succeed. Always, of course, as always, like and plug the show, share it with your friends. If you find these stories inspiring and it's helping you to learn how to approach and get into AI and thrive there as a product leader. Thanks so much again for joining us, Dave. It's been wonderful and really insightful. Really appreciate you sharing your experience and especially the walkthrough of like exactly getting to real live AI products. So valuable in these hypey days.
Of course. Thanks so much, Polly.
Oh, thank you so much. Wonderful. Well, that's another episode of AI Product Leader, and we'll see you all in a couple of weeks. Bye for now.